And we are live, apparently. Right. Well, it's all mod congs round, for fuck's sake, now. And this is the big show with myself, Pete Selby. Now, we've been experimenting with going basically in vision, and that's what we've been doing recently. And that's what we're doing now. And we're also experimenting with going live. And it's all new. So if this doesn't quite work out, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We will carry on as we are. We will carry on with the big show. We'll carry on with the preview. We'll carry on with the FPL show, and we'll carry on with the Champions, which we've not started yet, but we will do and cover the first two seasons of the Champion season. But for now, it's the big show with myself, Pete Selby, and in the house talking all things Leicester City and what's going on, all the outgoings and then more outgoings. There's no incomings at the moment at Leicester, and that's with Jono. We've got James and we've got Dave as well. So welcome everyone. On the big show, there is absolutely no plan at all. With the preview with Rob Hayes, guess what? They're previewing the next game. But now, on the big show, anything goes. We still haven't got a sponsor on the unbelievably sexy pink shirt. Don't know what it's going to be. I'm still hoping for Walker's Crisps. But on the back of 3 points at the weekend against Charlton, a vital 3 points, doesn't matter how bad we played. Doesn't matter how bad we played, Jono. I know you were talking to Charlton fans about Leicester, and you were really, really well. You were very good. I thought you were fantastic, and on that show. And I don't quite get what the podcast was called, but obviously it's some link with Charlton. But I'm in the camp today. I mean, I wore this shirt actually. I wore the 1983 Leicester shirt at work. I've worn it for 2 days. That tells more about my personal current beings than actually just wearing the shirt with pride. But yeah, a lot of work at the moment. But I wore this for the last couple of days on the back of the win, and everyone at work's going, "Yeah, but it was a terrible performance." And I'm kept going, "It doesn't matter." At the moment for Leicester, Jono, I'm still in the camp of it doesn't matter, because come 7 days' time, we're going to have a different side. We're going to have loan signings, potentially 1 or 2 or 3 signings, maybe, if we're allowed to, and probably, because the fire sale continues, loads more outgoings. It's not going to be a boring next 7 days at Leicester.
Well, I hope so. I hope you're absolutely right. I think there's going to be a load more out, maybe. There's still a big question mark about incomings. There's no rumours or anything from what I can gather. I mean, I did read something about us going for a Feyenoord winger just about half an hour ago. And that made me wonder whether, because he's in Fatawus' position, whether we're going to accept a bid for Fatawu if we're going for someone like that. Albeit it's on Facebook and on the socials, so there might be absolutely no, nothing truthful about it at all. But who knows? I mean, yeah, we could have a whole different team, but I do fear that we will still have the same old deadwood in the squad that we all want to go, i.e. Samari, Daka, Vestergaard, amongst a few others. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to leave, and we'll end up with probably a far weaker squad. But saying all that, I think we've done some half decent business. Justin going, I was in 2 minds about, but I think with a year left on his contract, let's get some money in. That's what we've been calling for Rudkin to be doing for the last 3 or 4 years, is like, with a year left, let's at least get a fee and get some money in and then reinvest it. So yeah, let's hopefully get some in. That's what it's all about. And I think we need probably 3 or 4 in. And then I would consider that a decent transfer window in the next week. But that's a lot of business to do in a week. And so I'm, the fact that we move so slowly, I'm, hesitant to be hopeful for that. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we need to get rid of these players. We really do. And obviously we've got a lot of deadwood, because even though it's all about getting promoted this season, I think we'll refer to the couple of transfers. Casey McAteer, 14 million. That's obviously top end if he does his business, if he does his stuff for Ipswich, and we get all the add-ons. And also then James Justin going, which hasn't been confirmed, but it looks like it will be, 8 million rising to 10. Dave, welcome back to the big show, and for fuck's sake, do you think we've got value for money with those two? I will just say for now, I think they're both good deals for both the players and for Leicester. I think, first of all, I think James Justin, I think it's good money for a player who's probably one of the highest earners at the football club, and also he's got 1 year left on his contract. And let's not forget how poor he was last year. Now, we know what a great player he was for Leicester and the injuries, etc. But just thinking for now, I'm looking at that going, if we can reinvest this money, that's good money. And then also Casey McAteer again, wasn't first choice, good egg, good player around the club, etc., etc. But up to 14 million again, good money that we need right now. So I'm in favour of both of those sales. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, James Justin, I think I was probably the most vocal in the WhatsApp last year about how poor he was, particularly in conceding goals. And it's such a shame because, a few years prior under Rodgers, for a brief period, I think before his ACL, he was potentially our best player for a couple of weeks. And then to go from that to what we've seen the last 2 or 3 seasons, which is, a guy with no confidence who can't defend at all. It's great money, really. I'm shocked, given Rudkin's record of being unable to sell anyone who's not a superstar, or unwilling, perhaps, being able to get, like John was saying, be able to get some good money for some of these more fringe players is really top work. With Casey McAteer, obviously the money is good. Pure profit of whatever you're saying, 13 million or so. That's a good number, but the beginning of the season with Maresca, he was one of the bright sparks. He scored a ton of goals before he got injured in a very short number of games. So on one hand, I'm wondering whether we'll be able to spend 13 million and get someone as good, but very unproven. So it could go both ways. It could be that we've sold someone that's probably worth 20, 30, 40 over the next 4 years, or we've sold someone that's not even worth 13. So there's a lot of unknowns with Casey. I'll take the money. The big question for me is what's the strategy here? Are we actually going to buy anyone? Are we going to do some loans, or are we just going to bank all this money and pay off, or balance the books from previous seasons? Like, is there any benefit to the future here, or is it just cleaning up the past messes that Rudkin and co have made?
I think it's a bit of everything, really, isn't it? I don't think we can be. I think beggars can be choosers for a start. It contradict myself all the time. We all know this. You all know this. And for people who have listened to For Fox's Sake for the last 12 years, you know that as well. I'm very much a case of what's happened at Sunderland. I'm very impressed with. Okay, they got promoted and with a squad that was never in a million years going to survive in the Premier League. And they've looked at it and gone, right, we've sold a player for 30 odd million pounds in Bellingham going off to Dortmund. On top of the money we've got to kind of completely reinvent ourselves. Okay. And they've done that. Now, whether it works or not, that's a different argument. We've seen in the past with certain clubs where it really hasn't. Go back to QPR a number of years ago. It didn't really work at all. But you might get promoted with a side who does survive and maybe thrive. And there was a certain football club called Leicester who did just that. But that means you've got to have players like Vardy, like Morgan, like Drinkwater in your side already who are obviously Premier League players. So I'm looking at this season going, I don't really care as long as we aim for promotion and hopefully get promotion, because next season is going to be completely different if we're in the Premier League. Absolutely 100% completely different, because we're going to have to buy virtually a new side. But we've got to get there. So do we get there using the players we've got because they're a level higher, or are they just damaged goods? And that's the angle I'm looking at with James Justin. And it sounds horrible because, again, we know what a good player he is and he seems like a good lad. But obviously, time moves on. And I put him in the category of damaged goods, not because of his injury, but last season, he had an absolute shocker, didn't he, really? And look at the boos that happened for Fatawus, and because of the disappointing season he's had in the Premier League in recent years. James Justin hasn't really had that, but I don't know whether that's just because he was a more unfavourable player. He played for Leicester in an era where we were successful. He obviously won trophies at Leicester, James. And so maybe he won't get that sort of abuse or hadn't got that sort of abuse. But I label his performances as woeful as Fatawus. So for me, I just put him under damaged goods, maybe more mentally than physically, really. But so he would go in the category of player that I'm not too sad to leave, even though he would have been still one of the better fullbacks in the league.
Yeah, I think I'm not too bothered about James Justin going. I always think it's sad when an academy product leaves, and I don't think there was any particular need for him to leave. in terms of if he's good enough for Ipswich, he's certainly good enough for us. I think that, Pete, you are being a bit optimistic / delusional.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's just in life generally. That's got nothing to do with football. I've got a great temper mattress and temper bed story to finish off with. Carry on.
If we don't sign any players in the next week, I won't be surprised. This feels like a fire sale with no plan at all. In terms of Wout Fassy, we were just mentioning, Fabrizio Romano tweeted today or yesterday that Beşiktaş are in for him, so he'd be joining Wilf over there. I don't know. I think also we have to remember that Sunderland looked their way into promotion to a certain extent last season. They didn't plan for that. So that's very different from what seems to be Leicester seem to be, we are definitely going to get promoted, which I don't think we are. I think this is really worrying because, I mean, our XG for the season so far is 1.29, which is in the bottom half of the league. Our XG for last week was 0.5 and 1.6 against. So far, all of our scorers are basically players that will most likely leave. So, and it's like we're playing quite badly with a couple of moments of Premier League or top league brilliance, like we saw on Saturday. So, where are the goals going to come from? Where's the creativity coming from?
But this is the thing, though, isn't it? This is what needs to change. This is what needs to happen in this next 7 days. Because surely, James, with these players going, with 14 million coming in for Casey, top end, obviously, with 10 million for James Justin, with Elkan, who's not in the squad, more than likely to go. Let's just put a price tag of 30 million. So if you add all these up, you're getting towards the 80, 90 million pound mark with the players who have already gone. All the money being taken off the wages as well. Maybe someone like Wout Fassy going, again, one of the high earners, maybe a few quid as well for him. Who knows with Caleb Okoli, and who knows even with a Fatawu bid. It's nice to hear that the Everton link with Tyler Dibbling is getting stronger, because that would be one of his possible suitors. But we shall see. It's surely with this money, even if we're under, and there were some loose stories linking by Rob Tanner. I think there was a few outlets linking maybe old stories that Rob Tanner's put before that we may be under an embargo, which we're not.
Yeah, that came from a journalist called Alan Nixon. Today, he posted about that today in terms of the move for Idrissa Gueye, who plays for FC Metz. The idea being that we could only loan him because we have a transfer embargo. So we'd have to buy him next summer. But I think if we actually had a transfer embargo that was actually affecting our transfer business at this very moment, then that would have to be publicly available knowledge. The Premier League would have
the EFL has a website where they list all the transfer embargoes. I can't see legally how there could be a secret one. I think it's
so I think that's
it's very possible we'll get hit with one, but I can't see legally that it's a secret done deal. Also, EFL would want to brag about hitting us with one as well. They'd want to publicize it. So
no, they would, and it's only Sheffield Wednesday have got one. But I just think I don't think there's a case of we won't be able to sign anyone. I think it's a case of we just have this hugely bloated squad, which we all know about. And even though we've only signed one player, a 38-year-old goalkeeper, even though we've been relegated since November, or roughly, do you know what I mean? I just look at it that we've got this huge squad, and nobody's going to come in for a Leicester player unless they're one of unless they're the goalkeeper. Obviously, Manson has not really worked out for West Ham in a couple of games, or the cream of the crop, really. And then it's taken until the last week of the transfer window to shift these players. And because we've got this huge squad, and because we've got a lot of players who it maybe would take time to move on, it's taken till this last week. So we've been sat here for ages and ages and ages, bemoaning the fact that there's nothing happening in the transfer market. Now, all of a sudden, the gear's gone from first to about fourth straight away. And I think there's people who maybe are slightly concerned. I cannot see in any way, shape, or form, and we know how poor the board have been. We know how poor the director of football has been, but I cannot see in any way, shape, or form a squad that loses Casey McAteer, loses James Justin, loses maybe a Walt Vass, loses these sorts of players, maybe an Akoli, maybe, and again, I still think there'll be plenty more. Remember, at the end of transfer windows, loads of squad players disappear on loan and get released, etc., for very small money. So once that's all been cleared out, the fact that we won't be able to bring players in, and I still think the key thing with Leicester this year is the difference between actually getting promoted or getting into a position where they can be promoted with points taken off is going to be the loan signings. And I still think we are the best destination for a loan player out of any team in the Championship because of the facilities that we've got. I still think those loan signings are going to be absolutely crucial. You look at some of the loan signings from Championship clubs in recent years. You go back to the Championship winning season when Delap scored for Hull against us. Someone of that ilk could be our centre forward. We could be moaning the fact that we haven't got a centre forward, and yet all of a sudden we get two maybe on loan. So I still think the loan signing is going to be crucial, but surely we can't sell all these players and not bring anyone in, Dave, because if we do that, then we're left with absolutely, well, not absolutely nothing, but we're left with a threadbare squad. And I'm looking for loan signings who will go down in history as some of the best loan signings of all time if we're going to get promoted.
Yeah, totally. It's a good point. I mean, you look at the squad, where do we need to fill? I think, Johnny, you were talking about it before. I mean, Mavididi and Fatu were very good last championship season. Vestergaard was good last championship season. Winks Ricardo, and I'll say Stalacic is clearly good. He was good in the Premier League. And maybe left and right back in Chowdhury, Thomas, Christensen, okay, not great. But it's really striker number 10, right? That are the big positions that we could really struggle in and not score goals. But what does everyone else think in terms of the big gaps in the squad right now?
I think that's exactly right. We need a centre midfielder as well, I think.
We need a pivot of some description.
Yeah.
And we need a defensive central midfielder. And if Vaus goes, we probably, depending on if Akoli stays, I think Vestergaard, Akoli, and Nelson are a decent first three centre halves.
As much as Akoli played well at the weekend, I still think that if a decent amount of money came in for Akoli, then we could still bring in another centre half. I still think money wise, I think he is very, very limited, you know, and I think we can bring in a player who is better suited to the Championship is probably the wrong term, but I still think there is a better option there. If we can get a fair amount of money for him, I'd let him go. I still think we've got the best defensive / anchor midfielder in the league in Harry Winks. I still think we have that. It's just a case of, does he want to play? And if he wants to play, stay and play and be the first player in our midfield. I still think that's the case. Samare, I don't know how long we can carry on talking about Samare because, again, I'm going to go back to that quote, Jono.
I thought you were going to say Samare when you said we've got the best anchor midfielder in the league. I was just hoping to God you weren't going to say Samare.
No, I went to a barbecue last night, had a fair few drinks, but no, that's all worn off now. Samare, he's never done it and he never will. There you go. I'll make a T-shirt. If he stays, in fact, you can pin this on me now. If he stays after this transfer window, I'm going to make a T-shirt that says Samare, and I'm going to have like a silhouette of Samare or basically a wardrobe. And then I'm going to have the quote underneath saying, or on top saying, he's never done it and he never will because he just won't. But I still think in Winks, we've got that player. I mean, desperate on Saturday, wasn't it? And as soon as Winks came on, all of a sudden, guess what? A player actually can pass the ball. And when you've got Akoli in your defense, someone who, as soon as he gets the ball at his feet, panics. Oh, Jesus. Yes, he can throw himself in front of balls, etc. Somebody show him a video of Jerry Taggart, Matt Elliott, and Wes Morgan and maybe even Robert Huth as well, and say there's 4 giant centre halves who, in the best will in the world, They could not pass a ball, but they ended up being fantastic defenders because guess what they did? They defended, and they had a player who could drop deep in midfield and you could pass the ball to because you don't want to pass the ball. You are not a ball playing centre half. Yannick Vestergaard is. He's fine. Even someone like Steve Walsh, he could play. He had a ball down the left-hand side. Think Muzzy is it in the playoff final 96. Long ball down the left. Is it penalty? 1-1 Parker from the spot. That's the sort of defender that he is not. So he needs the player in midfield to come deep and pick the ball off him. Who have we got that can do that? Skip? No. Again, I'd rather have a bag of Skips than Skip. Samare? No. Who have we got? We've got Harry Winks, who can do exactly that. That's his game. Get the ball off the centre half, turn on a sixpence, and then play the ball out wide or play the ball forward. That's all he needs to do, like he did 2 years ago.
I don't think there's any
big key is, does he want to stay though, Johnny? Does he want to stay? And that's his own decision.
This is it. I don't think there's any argument about the quality that Winks has at this level. Absolutely not. I think it's about his mindset. It's about his motivation, and whether he wants to apply himself. I mean, he's got a history of being a bit of trouble as well. But if he gets his head straight and he's loved by the manager and then starts kicking on the pitch, I think the fans will turn back in his favour and he'll be liked and be seen as a linchpin in the team. So fingers crossed that's what happens here. And he's in his last year of his contract. So, if he does stay, he's in the shop window, isn't he, for probably a move in the summer to go free somewhere. So that would be my motivation if I was him. There's obviously noise around him not wanting to stay, but if he does end up staying, there's worse places that he could be, and he could help us push towards promotion with the right mentality. He could be one of the key characters that will do that, and then get his free move somewhere in the summer. I think I would happily wave him goodbye in the summer if he did a good season for us now. Say thanks for the the service and move on, but. There's an awful lot of noise around him, which I don't care to like. I don't like at all. I still think we need a centre midfield because Samari, and frankly, I don't know what Skip does. What does he do? I don't know what his strengths are. What kind of midfielder is he? Is he a box-to-box? Not really. Is he a combative tackler? Not really. Is he a passer? No. I don't know what Skip does, frankly. How he's 25 million plus is beyond me. What a shocking signing. It's got to be up there with one of the worst signings we've ever made, I think. So centre midfielder, number 10, and a striker. They're the three. That's what I think we need.
I agree. Just a few messages coming through. Dorco's left a couple of messages. We must forget about promotion this season. Sell players now, save money for the big push next season. And the last thing we need to do is panic buy. If you've just joined us on X or on Facebook, welcome to the big show with myself, Pete Selby. We've got Johnny Towers, we've got James, and we've got Dave as well. You're watching or listening to For Fox's Sake. We've been around for 12 years, but we're now dabbling in this in-vision malarkey, okay? 12 years. Myself and Rob Hayes, who presents the preview, have been doing For Fox's Sake, but now we've got a big team of presenters and guests. If you want to be on the show, then do make sure you get in contact for fox8podcast@gmail.com. We've got the big show with myself, Pete Selby, talking all things Leicester, and it's just a complete random topic about anything that's happening at the football club. We've got the preview with Rob Hayes. Guess what that is? It's a preview of the next game and whatever Rob wants to talk about. We've also got the FPL show with Matt Elliott. Now, the FPL show, Matt Elliott, if you play FPL, Matt Elliott finished 186th in the world. Out of 11 million, he finished 186th. Big Leicester fan. So it's myself and Matt talking all things FPL. So the FPL show. And we've also got coming up the Champions 10 years on. So we're going to be talking about the championship winning season of 2015-2016. And we're going to go through a couple of months at a time. So in the next few weeks, we'll do the first episode talking all things August and September and the games and the memories and where you were, etc. So that's who we are. You can watch us on YouTube. So make sure you go to YouTube for Fox's Sake, find us on there and give us a follow so you don't miss any of the episodes. You can find us on Apple, on Spotify as well if you want to listen just audibly. I think that's the best way, or the audio version. And also you can find us on X, and that's FFS Pod on X, and we're on Facebook as well. I think we're live streaming on X at the moment, and we are definitely on YouTube. Again, this is all new, and I'm in control, so it might not have worked, but there we go. So join the party. Make sure you tell everyone. There's plenty out there. There's lots and lots of Leicester channels, etc. We've been going for about 12 years, but we're now dabbling in this in vision. Myself and Rob Hayes have been commentators down at Leicester for over 10 years, and we've been fortunate to be working elsewhere. So we're involved, and we've got plenty of nice. I don't know whether we want to call it the For Fox's Sake universe. Maybe not that much. Maybe a little bit naff, but there we go. But we'll call it that for now. But we've got the likes of Jono, we've got James, we've got Dave, and we've got quite a few members who aren't here because they're down the pub. But no, you're watching or listening to the big show with myself. Now, what we're going to be talking about next, Dave, I want to talk about Charlton on Saturday. Okay, it was a tough watch. Okay, and someone like Fatawus can do that. We know that. I'm still in the camp of let's wait and see what business we do in the next 7 days before we can even think about systems, styles, etc. It's just a case of just picking up points where we can. And with the preview, I don't know whether I'm on the preview with Rob Hayes later on in the week, but I'm quite negative about our chances on Friday against Birmingham. So I'm delighted with this 3 points, and I'm delighted with the effort showed. I'm delighted with the desire from the defence, etc. I thought Chowdhury played very well. Great goalkeeping display and a lovely goal. Everything else I'm not really bothered about because, again, I just think we're going to have a completely different side going forward after the transfer window closes next week. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I agree, Pete. I think, the side could be totally different to the side that played the first game of the season or the side that played on the weekend. So we really need to wait and see. It is a bit challenging when the transfer window is open and matches are starting. I think that's poor from the EFL, and better to have matches start after the transfer window is closed. But it is what it is. And yeah, the other thing, I think you really need sort of 5 to 10 games with a consistent group to understand the coach's ideas, whether anything's working, whether we're on track for top 6, I guess, like playoffs or not. But I do have concerns as well. Like the 3 games we've had good players, obviously different players, and it seems like a few sold between each game. And we haven't played particularly good in any of the 3 games. As you say, Fatawus just turned the game around on its head. Otherwise, momentum was pretty much the other direction. But I'll hold my horses and let's see how the team comes together once we have players out and hopefully, fingers crossed, a couple of new players in. I would say as well, I think I was reading about Marty before the season started, and apparently one of the things he likes to do is switch things up between more possession based and more direct. I'd definitely like to see him, encouraging the team to be a bit more direct. We've got great wingers in Mavididi and Fatawus. Ayew, he's maybe not the best number 9, but he can score a goal. So between them, I think, if we're playing quickly, we can tear some teams apart. And then I think, as you'd mentioned prior, Pete, the defense is actually pretty decent. Vestergaard's very much capable at this level. Ricardo's certainly capable at this level if he's on the right. Winks in front of them is very capable at this level. I think Cole is fine. I can't see him being worse than Fass. So, and then on the left, you've got Christensen and Thomas. So I feel like if we can nick a few goals and then defend, that might be the strategy, at least for the next 5 games, whilst the coach is figuring out what to do. But yeah, I guess I'm just saying it'd be really interesting to see what Marty's ideas actually are. At the moment, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, James, I know that you're quite pessimistic about Leicester's chances this season. But if, for example, the squad gets thinned out and the fire sale continues this week, and then all of a sudden we do sign a central midfielder, maybe Brownhill does sign for Leicester, I can completely understand. And I was saying on the chat earlier on the WhatsApp group, I was saying about how if I'm Brownhill, okay, so you've got a attacking centre midfielder who scored loads of goals last season for Burnley, captain, and they get promoted, nearly winning the league. And he's waiting for that club. He's waiting for that big contract. And who knows in the Premier League with injuries, etc., what could happen in the next 7 days? And all of a sudden, someone goes, right, on a free, we're going to go for him. Okay, maybe even a short contract, but we're going to go for you. I can understand why he's holding back, but first of all, I think he is the perfect player for Leicester. So if we do sign someone of that ilk, we maybe get 2 or 3 really good loan signings, maybe 1 or 2 cheap players from abroad, or even we do spend some money. But overall, we sit here next week, James, and in your opinion, you go, do you know what? We've had a fantastic last 7 days in the transfer window. Is there an angle where you can then see, even though we haven't played very well in the first few games of the season, is there an angle that you can see Leicester pushing for promotion before we get the points taken off us by the league?
Yeah, I mean, let's say that we get Brownhill, we get Calvin Stengs, who was the Feyenoord player that Jono mentioned earlier, who looks half decent, and say Idris Gueye, however you say his name. Yeah, the composition of our squad and our first team starts to look quite different. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I just think, like, who are we? Who are we as a club? What's the idea? Like, we have, and when I say identity, I don't really mean on the pitch, because it doesn't really bother me at the minute. It's great to put all the points as possible, but like, we don't have a plan as a club as to where we're going to be in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years time, and we really need that at the minute. Is this a consolidation season? Is this a push season? What is it? What's next season going to be?
The thing is, though, James, surely if this is a consolidation season, you need a fire sale of players. But if it is a promotion push, I would argue that you probably need a fire sale of players anyway, because then you need the funds to then bring in. So I think I just think in the world of football, I just don't think you can plan these things unless you're a club who maybe has sat lower down in the Championship for a while, maybe like I say a Stoke, for example, or maybe say a Bristol City, or maybe you're a club who have hovered around the playoffs for a little bit of time, maybe like a West Brom. You can then turn around and go, okay, we're going to lose some of our big earners, some of our older players, promote some youth, and say to the fans, this is going to be a couple of 3-year job. I just think with Leicester and teams anyway who get relegated, I just think there is no chance of that happening, because you're automatically the favourites to bounce straight back. You've got the players in place to hopefully bridge that gap again. And of course, we did it a couple of years ago. And in history, it's always been the case that they've had the best option. I just think at the moment, if a football club gets relegated from the Premier League and then they turn around to the fans and go, right, guess what, everyone, we're going to sell everyone and we're going to start again on a 3-year plan, I think most fans would turn around and go, well, hang on, that's the sort of thing you do if it didn't work for the first year of relegation. You know, that's the sort of thing I'll expect next season. I think at the moment it's a case of let's scramble together a side over the next 7 days and go for it and use what talent we have, like Fatawus at the weekend, because with the best will in the world, if we don't get promoted, he ain't going to be here next year. Monga, more than likely, he's not going to be here next year if we don't get promoted.
Monga has to be here next year.
Does he have to be because of his age? I keep on forgetting he's 13 years old.
Can't leave until he's 18.
Really? Oh, fantastic. Well, there you go then. That's all right. Well, at least we got him. There is the bright spark. But did you get what I mean, though? I think those 3-year kind of plans, I just think when you're a relegated club, they don't really exist because you've got that bounce back factor, which is a horrible kind of term, but you get what I mean, finance-wise as well, because you've got the parachute payments. So I think the identity thing, I get what you're saying, but I just think at the moment, if you're the manager, then you can't put that identity on a side, which is changing daily at the moment because players are going and players are going to be coming in. I just think from the 1st of September onwards, that's when you can go to the manager, right, what are we doing? And I wouldn't be surprised if there is a slight change in style because of some players coming in. Let's say we have a sizable centre forward come in and we maybe go a little bit more direct against certain opposition. At the moment, we just can't do that because we don't have the players. So I think it just might take a bit of time. What do you reckon, Jono? Again, are you like James, looking for a little bit more not identity, but looking for a bit more from the side, from Marty, to understand what we're actually doing and what the plan is? Or is it a case of you're more maybe in my camp where you're thinking, actually, let's just wait for this transfer window to finish, and then we can try and understand what we've got before then moving forward and figure out how it's best to play these players.
Well, the noises coming from the manager and from the squad are that they're going for promotion. I heard Ayo in an interview a week or two ago saying I think it was after the Preston game, saying it's early days. Okay, we didn't perform well, but I believe that the fans will all be smiling at the end of the season. We'll be in the best place, and we'll get to where we want to be, which he was alluding to promotion. And so I think the noises coming from the squad and from the manager are, we know where we're aiming for as a club. And I think that those probably have been pushed down from the board. I think the board probably have the same expectations as well, is that, we're one of the biggest teams in the league. We have got supposedly a more superior squad than a lot of the league. So we should be going for promotion. Now, I know the fire sale changes things a little bit, but that also brings in a massive war chest of money, presumably. Not necessarily to spend, we've bought in nearly 70 million, and El Khanous would be nearly 90 million if he goes. So where's that money going to go? Where is that money going? I can't see how we would need 90 million to settle PSR.
Our PSR losses for the last 3 years are 110.
Yeah, but you are allowed to lose up to 80 or something, aren't you, over 3 years, even in the Championship, something like that. So with all of that in mind, even if we spent 20, we could get in 3 or 4 players plus a couple of loans and a few frees, I think, to bolster the squad. I don't see any reason why not. So I'm really hoping that we do some business, and I do think that they are pushing for promotion. I think that I'm hoping that secretly there is a plan, but it would be nice to have a bit more transparency from the club about what it is that we're actually doing here. It will obviously be, talked about come September the 1st or whatever, when the window closes. We'll know for sure then, won't we? If we bring no one in, then it's probably, you could probably assume one thing or the other. But if we do bring in 3 or 4, which I'm hoping that we do, bring in at least 3, I think that we can start saying, let's give it a go. It's promotion time, pushing forward.
Dave, for me, I just look at the players who have gone. El Khanous, I think, was always going to go. I don't think Leicester's chance of getting promoted or being in the frame, let's just get being in the frame, it can be there or thereabouts. I work in the horse racing world. Okay, sometimes when I'm previewing a race, you look at a horse and you go, do you know what? It's going to be right there, in with a chance. Now, whether it's got the ability to actually get across the line and beat these X, Y, and Z, but you can see it being bang up there and in with a chance. You don't really want to put your neck on the line and say, it's going to win. And I think that's the case with Leicester this year. Have we got the ability to build a side and then push on and be in the picture, in the frame for possibly getting over the line? I don't think losing James Justin and Casey McAteer will make a blind bit of difference, actually, even though Justin would be a very valuable member of a promotion squad or a promotion aiming squad with his versatility, etc. But again, I think he's a little bit damaged goods. El Khanous was already going to go, and I think the players who have left, again, I just don't think it's been. I think they would be towards the top of the list, and they won't make a difference. I'm more interested in the 1 or 2 positions that we do need, and we desperately need someone who can score at least, up to 20 goals. David Nugent, working for Radio Leicester on Saturday, was saying that. He says you need a 20-goal striker, and also you need someone in behind who does score between 10 and 15 goals. A la David Nugent alongside, say, a Jamie Vardy, that sort of ilk of player. Nugent was always that bang 10 to 15 goal striker. And then you've got the centre forward to score more. Is that the big issue for you in this squad? Like, if you're looking for one area that they can bolster, is it just straight down the middle, centre forward, or 2?
Yeah, I think so. As we discussed before, Maverick and Fatu are clearly very, very good. Maybe sort of top wingers in the league kind of thing. Wings, it depends where you put Ricardo, but let's say we put Wings and Ricardo in the middle. And then the defence, I think what we've seen of Akoli so far is totally fine. We had so many managers, and most of the blunders were more Fass and Justin, a bit of Vestergaard. But again, Vestergaard fine in the Championship. Chowdhury, and Thomas probably fine. So and we bought that other player on the right back position last year. Who knows what's happened to him, but he looked interesting. But yeah, for me, Pete, like assuming we have a very limited budget, what do you think? Maybe 5 or 10 million. We've got to go for a striker, and we've got to go for a number 10. You know, we need more assists and we need more goals. I do like Ayew. Maybe he's better as an impact sub. He could come on as a 10 or a 9, you know, in replacing one of the new acquisitions we bring in. I just wonder whether we'll have enough money to buy someone that can score 20 goals. Then someone
that's what I was going to say, Dave. Just doing. I was going to say, surely those, let's say 15 up to 20 million pounds that Jono mentioned that we could maybe spend on players. I think that's going to be more in a number 10 attacking midfielder role. Maybe some of that money gets taken by wages for Josh Brownhill, maybe not on a transfer, or maybe elsewhere in the squad. I think the 9 position, personally, I don't think we're going to be buying a 20-goal striker. I don't think we can afford to buy that player. Yeah. I think that's where the loan will be. I think the centre forward position is where the loan or both will go. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean that sounds right. I mean, I think if we were seriously looking at that caliber of striker number 10, we would have heard rumours over the summer. Rudkin obviously hoping that the money from sales would come in. I just can't see us doing much in terms of spending big in this last week. Loan, a small acquisition maybe. And I think that then flips the question. It's okay, if we don't have that 20-goal striker, we don't have a very good number 10. Should we sort of treat this season as a warm up and keep the financials of the club sound and things like this, and then really go for it next season? I mean, what do you think, Pete? Is it worth really trying to go for promotion this season, or it's just out of the question and we're better to save resources for next?
I think you cannot turn down promotion anytime, any club. Some people say, oh, they got promoted too early. It's one of the worst comments in football. A load of rubbish. You get promoted when you can. And I think if you're Leicester, and let's not be big-headed, but also let's be not proud of our club, but let's look at the history of the club and the size of the club. Like, we're Leicester City, okay? If we do get promoted, first of all, there's a huge chunk, and James can confirm this, there's a huge chunk of money being taken off our PSR at the end of this season. So we will actually have quite a lot of money to spend next season. 1. 2, regardless of what you think about King Power and the owners, they put their hands in the pocket, okay? So they will spend up to and beyond what we can spend, because that's how we've been in the trouble that we're in. So we'll spend all of that money. And also, and again, because of the investment from the owners, we have a fabulous training ground. It's a very attractive place to play. And because of the success of the club, it's a very attractive club to come and play for. Okay. So if we do get promotion, then okay, it went horribly wrong last time for many reasons. The decision, I still say it wasn't Steve Cooper's fault, but the decision to go from a Maresca to Cooper, what was that about? But anyway, when we get promoted again, we will have money. Okay, so I think you just can't turn it down. And if we do, I know Monga will be here now because he's of an age. So again, in the Premier League, fantastic. Someone like a Fatawu, okay, if he stays at Leicester over the next 7 days, he will then be in the Premier League. So there's your right winger sorted. Who knows? We might get a couple of very interesting loan signings. Let's keep an eye on the Premier League, everyone. Who's not playing for clubs? Who wants a move? Who needs a 6-month loan, maybe? Well, I'm not talking about a 19 or 20-year-old promising player from Man City here. I'm talking about an established Premier League player who's maybe in their mid to early 20s, who just hasn't worked out of the club, and they can't find a club for him to go to. Oh, drop down to play for Leicester for 6 months. Thank you very much. We'll have you. Try and bang a
Jamie
few goals
Vardy
in and get a move away. Who knows? It could be JV again. Stranger things have happened, James. You've kind of preempted what I was going to say then, because as we get towards the end of the podcast, we try and keep it to 30 minutes because we think it's a bite-sized, nice, listenable length. But we've gone over because it's the first live stream we've done. Again, plenty of people join us all the time on X, on Facebook, etc., and also on YouTube. Hello. 12 years we've been going on for Fox 8, but we're now in vision. I know we'll have running water and electricity next, but there we go. This is the first dabble into live stream, so we're taking our time with it. But it is the big show. Now, before we end with my story about a bed, what possible strange things are going to happen in the next week. I think this is my prediction for the next week. And I'll just go through a few comments. Dorco's been commenting plenty. Let's not panic buy. Also, one about centre forwards, and he goes, we bought Daka, etc. Tony Smith, hello Tony. We have to bring in players this week. Attacker non-existent, exactly. We need a centre forward, don't we? Or maybe two. Warrior's gone missing. Yeah, I mean that's a terrible signing, but again, they was just completely panicked. And why would a billionaire want to own a club who can't spend any money? Exactly. You know, they will spend the money. It's been shown in the past that they will. But I want to know from you guys what strange things are going to happen. I've just got the impression that Leicester are going to get a centre forward that's not a 19 or 20-year-old. I just think we might get a player with Premier League experience that we're just not thinking of, who's maybe just out of the first team picture of the club, and a very late, I'm talking deadline day deal. At I think it closes about 7 o'clock on deadline day. We'll do this nearer the time. But I think it's going to be a deadline day signing. So maybe even someone towards the end of their 20s or even early 30s who we go, hang on, why is he come on loan? It's just because you look at those teams in mid to lower table or mid-table, the likes of a Brighton, etc. And I'm not talking about an Alton Edouard here because, my God alive, what a terrible loan signing that is. But someone maybe of that ilk in terms of their position in the squad and in terms of their age, etc. And they just can't ship them out for whatever reason, or a move collapses. And that the last day, they have to move on. And they just need a 6-month loan, not a year. It's just a 6-month loan to go and play some football. And I just get the impression that Leicester might get a name that none of us could ever think would go on loan, but all of a sudden ends up at the King Power as the number 9. I won't band a few names around, but I think that might happen. Dave, in the last week of the transfer window, because we're focusing on the fire sale, what strange thing is going to happen? Also, I'm going to throw in as well that we will have to turn down a £40 million bid for Fatawus. I think a club will look at him and go, there's a player who can. I think there's a massive premium on a player who can move and play straight away. You look at Jack Grealish and Keenan Dewsbury Hall for Everton the other day. Fantastic together on the left for Everton. And it's two players who can hit the ground running straight away and play. They don't need to settle into the area. They don't need to settle into English football or their teammates. They can play straight away. And I think clubs at the end of the transfer window will look at Fatawus and go, there you go. There's our young, exciting winger who can just play 24 hours later. And I think we're going to have to fend off probably a 40 million bid from somewhere. So that's my prediction. Fend off a 40 million pound bid, or maybe accept it. And we will get a loan signing who is in the more experienced camp as our new number 9, not obviously number 9 on the back of his shirt, but will play down the middle. And also maybe we get a sponsor on our gorgeously sexy pink kits. Dave, what do you reckon is going to happen in the next 7 days? What wild and wonderful things are going to happen?
Well, what I would like to happen is for Rodkin to wake up one morning and just suddenly resign. But I think realistically, if we're talking more,
that's a thing. That's a thing that could happen. That could be your suggestion.
Or Top wakes up one morning and is like, Rodkin's not the guy anymore. You know, that would be fantastic. But I think realistically, you know, looking at the squad that we put up on the weekend, there's no Fast, so you got to assume he's probably gone. There's no Winks, so you got to assume he's probably gone. And Mavididi was injured, so hopefully he's back. And also no Ricardo, although he did get subbed on. So potentially Ricardo goes, but I guess with his injury history, maybe not. I would like Ricardo to stay. And then I think last prediction, I don't think we're going to see much of. I think the incomings will be unremarkable. You know, loans, low cost players, etc. Though you've got to give credit to this club over the last decade or so. Generally, our signings have been pretty good. You know, obviously we had Skip last year, but otherwise, and then we had that year that Rodgers spent a ton of money on players like Samare. But otherwise, our signings over time have been pretty decent. And
or did he buy them? And that's a completely different story. That's another big show we'll go into. But carry on.
Sure. And like either way, Rudkin and Top bought into maybe what Rodgers wanted. It's clearly not just Rodgers, right? But yeah, you know, we've got a good history of buying low and selling high. I mean, look at El Canous, right? Like, is he really worth what we sold him for? Maybe. He had a couple of good games last season. But if we spent 5 million on a player, there's a decent chance that they're going to be a pretty good player. I think the fundamental recruitment team underneath Rudkin is actually pretty good. The selling of players has been terrible. The increasing of revenue in the club has been terrible. Some of the managerial appointments have been terrible. So I think the issues are not so much in recruitment. So I back the recruitment team, but hopefully they get some money.
Well, a very positive word there from Dave for the recruitment team. There you go. It's the big show. Big suggestions from Dave. Jono, what do you reckon? Next 7 days, what wild and wonderful things are going to happen at the football club? The more extreme points of view and the more wacky suggestions, the better.
I was just thinking about what you were saying about Rudkin. Yeah, that would be probably top of my list. But on top of that, I wonder whether, if we're talking weird and wonderful and wacky, whether there's a Saudi prince who's a secret Leicester fan who's comes out from the desert somewhere with £20 billion and decides to, overhaul the whole club and buys top out.
This is what I want to hear.
Stadium expansion straight away, and then, trying to sign Lionel Messi at the very dregs of his career, just for the last, few months of his career, because we've just got so much money we can. I'm just talking absolute nonsense now, but all seriousness, I do wonder whether we are lining ourselves up for a sale. So, whether some really rich multi-billionaire is going to come in and buy us and then put us on another level and start taking us back to the dreamland again. That would be wonderful.
James, what wild and wonderful suggestions? Because we haven't got Joe Healy on the show today, but it seems that Jono's been drinking beforehand. So you've taken over the mantle from Joe. James, what do you think might happen in the next 7 days? And again, maybe towards the kind of like extreme end and the wild and wacky suggestion.
There's been quite an odd transfer window, because there's been lots of the top the top 6 of the Premier League spent loads of money really early in the window, but lots of the kind of teams below that are looking pretty desperate. West Ham, Newcastle, Everton, which is why I think there are so many rumours about our players leaving. It's because there's a glut of Premier League teams that are desperate for players. Wild and wacky things. I've been thinking all summer about Vardy coming back. There are rumours today.
Say it, James. Say it. Come on, we all want to hear it.
There are rumours today that you might be going to Napoli.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if him and Rebecca would get on that well in Naples. I think
but they've got the Ballon d'Or winner, Scott McTominay, playing for him. So
they have, and De Bruyne now.
So you're saying that Vardy's coming home? You're saying that Vardy is going to sign for Leicester in the next 7 days? That's your suggestion?
Vardy would be mad to say no to Naples and come back, but it sounds exactly the sort of thing he would do, though, wouldn't it? That's Vardy for you.
Well, it'd be better for him than going to, say, Saudi Arabia, where he wouldn't be able to drink Stella because it's literally illegal.
Well, I mean, end of the day, I think he's still hoping for that Celtic move. I think it's got that Celtic move written all over it. But we shall see. We'll see what happens tomorrow, because Celtic, they're in a bit of a mess with their Champions League qualifiers. So I think that will go a long way to paying his wages if he does.
I'm trying to think of another American actor who has spoken openly about liking football. So that maybe I could say that, like, I don't know.
Well, regardless of that, which American actor would you like?
Oh,
It's got to be Hanks. Surely Hanks would be great. Imagine if Tom Hanks turns up at King Power as the new Leicester City owner. That'd be great. I mean, imagine the meme possibility of that. All the characters.
I've got a funny feeling he's a Villa fan. I've got a funny feeling.
Oh, no, that's true.
They're all Villa fans.
We haven't got any players called Wilson as well, so that can't really work out very well.
Yeah.
Never mind. Well, we'll see what happens over the next 7 days. The best thing to do over the next 7 days is keep hold of the Fox's Sake podcast. Now, at FFS Pod on Twitter. Facebook, find us on there. Our YouTube channel, make sure it's brand new. Not many followers at the moment, but rising all the time. Give us a follow on YouTube. Subscribe. It's completely free. And also you can listen to us on Apple and on Spotify. Plenty of listeners all the time. Thanks for joining us. Again, this is the first time we've done this live. We've got the preview with Rob Hayes later on in the week.
Will Ferrell's a big football fan. I forgot about that.
Oh, I tell you what, that'd be great. Although his last few, I don't know. Like I'm talking. Okay, in terms of Will Ferrell, I want Frank the Tank. Will Ferrell. That's what I want. I want Frank the Tank. I want proper old school, literally old school Frank the Tank. That's what I want. Maybe not the naked run through the
Apparently,
field.
Angelina Jolie's a Liverpool fan.
I tell you what, we could do this. This will be on the next big show. But so that's for Fox 8 for this week, as James goes through all the actors possibly could buy Leicester. Now, I got the email live on air last week about Temper delivering this all singing, all dancing bed, because it's one of these electric ones. So in the morning, I can, like the Undertaker. They delivered on Friday, and there was no bed in the lorry. So I'm sleeping on the floor currently with the wife on this new fantastic mattress and no bed, and it's arriving on bloody Wednesday. I mean, it's an absolute joke. Surely out there, if you're watching Temper, come on, throw us something our way. You literally, they turned up and the phone rang and sorry, pal, there's nothing on the lorry. I didn't check this morning. They didn't have the bed. Oh, come on. Hard-working podcaster here, but anyway, that's enough of my that's my woes at the moment. I'm off down the pub, and I suggest you do the same. Jono, I think you've had enough already. James, great to talk to you. And Dave, welcome back to the podcast. And if you've been watching or listening to Fox 8 for the first time, where have you been? We've been here for 12 years talking all things Leicester, myself and Rob, but now we're joined by a big gang. Welcome to the family. Give us a follow, especially subscribe on YouTube. That's it for the big show live with Pete Selby. And we'll be back later on in the week with the preview with Rob Hayes and many of our other shows as well. But for now, we'll be back talking all things Leicester next time on the big show. God knows what could happen before now and then. I think at the end of the transfer window, we're going to have Will Ferrell in charge of the club. We're going to have Jamie Vardy as a number 9 striker. And what else? Crazy things that we said. I don't know. Anyway, happy birthday to the Birch. We'll be back next time.